need. It's no secret that combining online and offline techniques is the key to fundraising success, and practical nonprofit management advice is what you need. The Nonprofit Coach with Ted Hart is the perfect landing point to learn from top experts around the world who provide advice you can use. Ted Hart is without a doubt one of the foremost nonprofit thought leaders. Also a successful author, his books range from successful online fundraising to expert nonprofit management. Guests on the Nonprofit Coach are leaders in their field who share their insider tips and trade secrets in a conversational style both the experienced and novice will benefit from. Ted lectures around the world, but now he's here for you. From the latest in charity news, technology, fundraising, and social networking, Ted and his guests help you and your organization move to greater levels of efficiency and fundraising success. This is a live call-in show. Add your voice by calling 347-324-3080. After the show, you can find all our podcasts at tedhart.com. Click on the links. Don't forget to dial 347-324-3080. Now, welcome the host of the Nonprofit Coach, Ted Hart.
And welcome here to the latest edition of the Nonprofit Coach. Big show today. As the announcer mentioned, you can call in to speak to our page 2 expert today, which is Eric Riordan from Care2. And that number is 347-324-3080. You can also tweet today at Ted Hart, and we are casting live today over at Facebook at facebook.com/Ted Hart. As always, here on the Nonprofit Coach, we start with page 1 news. First up here on page 1 news, we have Ariel Gart, who is the Marketing and Outreach Manager at GuideStar, here with us for the GuideStar Minute. Welcome back, Ariel Gart.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Ariel, give us the update of what's going on at GuideStar.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of great things that I wanted to share with everybody. In the last 2 weeks, we launched our 2018 Seals of Transparency, making it even easier to find current information on nonprofit organizations on their GuideStar profiles. So the profiles now feature these 2018 seals, which signal that nonprofits have provided current contact information, fresh financials, recent results, and more. So we're really excited to debut those 2018 seals, and we are encouraging all of the nonprofits on GuideStar to come in and update your profiles to achieve those 2018 seals of transparency just by visiting guidestar.org/update.
Terrific. And CAF America, of which, as our listeners know, I serve as president and CEO, is very proud to maintain platinum level status on GuideStar. So my understanding is that right now, if I'm looking correctly, that are there 130,000 charities that have already attained some level of measure on the transparency seal. Is that correct?
I believe it's about 50,000 actually.
Oh, 50,000, okay.
Of all of the nonprofit charities in the United States, only 50,000 have gotten to that point where they've achieved the seal of transparency. So being one of those 50,000 is a great accomplishment and just signals your commitment to transparency to anyone who's interested in learning more about the work that all these nonprofits do.
Terrific. And we're posting over on Facebook the information that you need to update your GuideStar nonprofit profile, and again, hopefully to attain the standards of transparency. Other updates from GuideStar?
Absolutely. So the other thing that I wanted to share with everybody is GuideStar's initiative for collecting diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI information. Over the last few years, it's become more apparent to us than ever that foundations are extremely interested in the diversity data from nonprofits. So as a result of that, we're really increasing our efforts to collect diversity, equity, and inclusion data from nonprofits via their GuideStar profile. So all the nonprofits out there, when you go on to update your GuideStar profile and achieve those fields of transparency, you'll also see opportunity to include some of that diversity information that foundations are really, really interested in seeing. So I also encourage everybody to visit our learn.guidestar.org/DEI to learn more about kind of how we're working with nonprofits and foundations to collect more diversity information.
Terrific. We're also posting that link over on Facebook at facebook.com/Ted Hart as well. Really terrific updates, and of course, both of those point to the issue of transparency and sharing of information voluntarily by nonprofit organizations. Other updates that you have from GuideStar?
No, that's it for me.
Terrific. Well, we always appreciate having GuideStar represented here on the Nonprofit Coach. Just to remind all of our listeners that in the Nonprofit Coach 6 Pillars of Success for online nonprofit organizations, number 2 is completing your GuideStar profile. So we hope that all of our listeners will take the opportunity to make that as a priority for this year. Thank you, Ariel Gart, for being our guest here again on the Nonprofit Coach.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you.
Terrific. Next up here on the Nonprofit Coach, still here on page 1, Neil Galliford is joining us from Toronto. And Neil, we have our annual Digital Leap conference that we co-host with you, but wow, do you have some big news about this year's Digital Leap? Bring us up to date.
Yes, Ted, it's fantastic. We are sold out, and we have actually been sold out for a couple of weeks now, and the conference isn't actually until April 24th. But we sold out last year, we've sold out this year again, so we're very happy with the response we're getting to our conference.
This is our 9th annual Digital Leap conference, and lots of conferences, I think, sort of play games with, buy your tickets now, we're going to be sold out, but this is actually sold out. There's no more seats available, and as you mentioned, it sold out a couple of weeks ago. This is earlier than any conference I've been involved with to completely have every seat, every delegate slot available sold out. What do you attribute this early success to?
Well, I think, this is the only conference in Canada which is focused specifically in the not-for-profit sector and the use of digital technology and communications and fundraising. And so it's very, very, very closely focused on the audience that we have attracted over the years, and those people find good value. We get quite a few people coming back, but there's always some new people as well. If people want to know more about the content and about what the day is going to look like, they could go to digitalleap.org. And unfortunately, they can't buy tickets, but maybe next year.
Yeah, well, bookmark the site and register early for next year. We are posting that link over at facebook.com/Ted Hart, and typically we try to have registration open by December of the year prior. So I think you're right. Go check it out. See what all of the buzz is about for Digital Leap. But bookmark that or put a note on your calendar to register early, so you can get in on next year, which will be our 10th anniversary Digital Leap conference. That's a big milestone.
It is a big milestone, and we couldn't have got here without the help of our sponsors. And I know you have Eric Rardin on today, and Care2 has been a sponsor of the conference, and is this year again, along with Blackbaud, Deloitte, Engaging Networks, Canada Post, and some others. It allows us to keep the ticket prices down, that we get support from these terrific sponsors. So I want to thank them. And of course, we attract some really great speakers as well. And I think that if your audience goes over to the website, they'll see some pretty impressive people talking about some important and timely issues.
That's, I think, part of what really sets Digital Leap apart is that it is so timely. Of course, that adds to the complexity of planning such a conference because the use of digital technology, online and offline, is always changing. And over the period of time of Digital Leap, we've certainly chronicled some of the most important activities in the use of digital technology. And as you mentioned, and thank you for giving me a very nice segue, Neil Galliford, thank you so much for being our guest here again on the Nonprofit Coach. Our segue is over to page 2, so let's head on over. As Neil Galliford just mentioned, and of course Neil is with Stephen Thomas up in Toronto, Eric Riordan is our guest here over on page 2. He is the Vice President of Business Development at Care2.com. And of course, as Neil just mentioned, Care2 has been an early and frequent sponsor of the Digital Leap Conference, which is just a tremendous success. Part of that is due to the sponsors of organizations who really know their stuff and are really, really involved in digital technology like Care2. Eric has been involved with hundreds of campaigns and candidates and nonprofits, helping everyone to connect with donors and supporters online. At Care2, Eric advises on donor-led acquisition and multi-channel conversion strategies. He has contributed to the integration conversion efforts on behalf of nonprofits in the United States, Canada, and the United States, and over 100 other countries. Eric is a guy who really knows what he's doing when it comes to digital technology, and it is my pleasure to welcome Eric Riordan here to the Nonprofit Coach. Eric, welcome.
Thanks, Ted. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, our topic today, of course, could not be more timely. Lessons from the world's largest social network for good. You'll be involved, as Neil just mentioned, on April 24th in Toronto in the huge Digital Leap conference. Can you believe it's already sold out?
I'm not surprised at all, to be honest. It's a fantastic conference, and I'm never surprised to hear it's sold out. It's one of our favorites, and that's why we've sponsored it. I think every year, if there was any year that was missed, it was simply because we couldn't physically be there.
Yeah, I think you have been there every year, and it really shows and is very much appreciated. So let's start with the basics for our audience, because we have such a large audience. There's going to be some folks who know about you and some folks who don't. But what's drawing people today is clearly the topic, lessons from the world's largest social network for good. So what makes Care2 the world's largest social network for good?
Well, we were created back in 1998 with the intention from our founder, Randy Painter, to create a community of people who wanted to make the world a better place. So from the outset, the idea here was to create a social network of people that wanted to do good and to help them, empower them with tools and information and knowledge that they could use to achieve that aim. And we're 2 weeks older than Google.
Okay.
Google's slightly larger than us. They set a low bar though. Their goal, their sort of mantra is "Don't be evil," and our goal is to be good. And it turns out there's about a $60 billion market differential between not being evil and being good, but we're quite happy with being good.
Well, it's an admirable goal, of course. Tell us about this community that you have drawn together, the social network that you have created for good. What are the numbers? As you said, you slightly outdate Google in terms of this community that you've brought together, but it's grown over time. So sort of tell us, what kind of community are we talking about here?
So we're nearly 50 million members right now, and we have been around, as I said, since 1998. And our community are people that are passionate about all kinds of causes, and whether it's the environment or international relief or human rights, animal welfare. Our members come to our site to engage in content around the causes they care about, to create petitions, to sign petitions, and engage in the site in other ways. they're passionate about these causes, and the majority of them give to 3 or more nonprofits every year. They're an extremely engaged donor audience as well as cause-focused audience, and that's what makes our partnership with nonprofits so successful. This is a community of people who care about the work that charities and nonprofits around the world are doing, and are willing to chip in to support those efforts.
And so 50 million people coming together, they have a variety of different interests. How do you keep a community of that sort active and engaged over time?
Well, there's a couple things. Part of it is us continually having really engaging, powerful content, and a lot of that content we produce in the form of blog posts. We have several different blog channels on different topics, from healthy living to global warming to animal welfare, etc. And so our members have a reason to come back because there's always fresh, interesting, highly curated content. And the other thing is that our members are very passionate about taking action on causes, and they love to sign petitions. So they will come to our site, they'll sign a petition, and then share the fact that they've signed that petition with other people, usually through social these days. 40% of our traffic comes from Facebook, and that's largely a result of people signing a petition and then sharing the fact that they signed that petition on Facebook, or creating a petition and sharing their petition on Facebook. Anybody can create a petition on Care2. There's no cost to do that. We provide the tools and the technology to help them succeed in their campaigns. And the more we see campaigns, successful campaigns driven by petitions, created by our members, and most of them, in fact, engaging around local issues, like trying to protect a grove of trees from a new highway that's coming through, or getting rescinding a city ordinance that bans pit bulls, things like that. These are campaigns that our members are winning every day, and that sort of really fantastic feedback loop of creating petition contribute to a successful campaign really gets people excited. They feel good about the fact that they can in fact make a difference, and they are able to make the world a better place by creating and signing petitions is fantastic, and that makes them feel great, and they want to keep coming back and continuing to support other causes. So
the essence of this community sounds like it's akin to the essence of democracy, that people come to Care2 to understand and be able to join forces with other people who care about great things that are happening. And you may not hear about these in the press, or you may not have an active way to make a difference. So what you're doing is bringing this capacity to know that the topic exists, but right there people have the tools in front of them that are provided on the Care2 platform to make a difference. So is that correct?
Absolutely. In fact, I'll tell you a really quick but really awesome story. In the Smithsonian Museum for American History, there is an exhibit on democracy, and within that exhibit there is a petition that is a couple 100 years old, 150 years old. It's from the Civil War, and it's parchment that's rolled up, and it's got the signatures in ink of thousands of soldiers who signed the petition to get paid and to be taken care of. They were serving their country and they weren't getting paid, and so they created this petition, and it's in this case in the museum. Right next to that is an iPad with a Care2 petition.
Ah, that's great.
And we were approached by the Smithsonian. They were doing this exhibit on democracy and citizen democracy. I mean, you get to vote every couple of years, maybe a little more frequently depending on where you live. You only get to vote for president every 4 years. Citizen democracy is what you do every day, and how you engage in your world to shape it in a way that you think will make it a better place. And petitions are a core of citizen democracy. And so it was just an incredibly tremendous and exciting honor to be included in the Smithsonian. But we're not just history, we're the future as well. part of the reason that we created the petition platform is, you'll remember back when email was first starting out in the 90s, people would forward these chain emails and ask you to sign it at the bottom and then forward it to somebody else, and they just kept going around and around and spinning, and half of them were fake, and who knows. So, it was our founder, Randy Painter, said there's a better way to create a petition online. We can do that. And, next thing you know, we had that petition tool available online. Since then, there have been around 700 million petition signatures on our platform. So, and hundreds of thousands of petitions created by our members, and then of course with the nonprofits that we work with, and that's super exciting. When I started at Care2, we just breached the 6 million member mark, and now we're at 46 million members. And I'm looking forward to the day, hopefully this year or early next, when we have 1 billion petition signatures on Care2.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you go to care2.com, of course, we've posted the link over at facebook.com/Ted Hart, so you can follow along. You can literally see as people are signing petitions, and as you said, the 716 million petition signatures so far, but I can literally see people signing right this minute. There's been almost 372,000 petitions created, but the feedback is wonderful. When you come to this site, you not only see sort of the topics that are trending, the folks that have created petitions that matter, that if you care about them, you can just scroll through and add your name to things that really matter to you. But you also list success stories where, as you're saying, Versace goes for free, and part of that was a petition right here on Care2. The UK is banning wild animals in circuses. A Care2 petition that was signed for that. So again, people, I think it's beautiful to sort of put this tagline of sort of citizen democracy in action, because it's happening right now. It's happening today. It's not just, I have to wait for some politician to give me the pitch, or I have to wait for the ballot box. But I can make a difference today, and I'm doing that in a combined effort with other people. So I want to take a very quick break, Eric, and when we come back, I want to put this in the context for our listeners. Our listeners, again, are nonprofit executives, they're fundraising professionals, they're organizations who, in their own way, are leading the charge for citizen democracy by bringing topics every single day and doing the action that's on the backside of these petitions. So, there's a petition that draws attention to a topic, but then somebody's doing the work to actually make sure that those that can make a difference know about that petition. And so we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to turn our attention to how our listeners can utilize this tool, can wield this tool from the world's largest social network for good, to do good for your nonprofit organization. And we'll be right back.
Have you ever wished you could take back an email you sent to the wrong person? Or have that nagging feeling that your confidential message was forwarded without your consent? Do you sometimes email sensitive data even though you know most email isn't secure? And we all have, because we're busy, and because in the world of email, there are no takebacks. Until now. Introducing Virtru, the simple way to send and receive secure email with confidence. Virtru is easy to install and use, and it works with your favorite email programs like Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, MacMail, and more. When you hit the Send Secure button, your email is encrypted before it leaves your computer or smartphone. And even better, you can revoke a message at any time. You decide whether a message can be forwarded by recipients. You can track where your message is forwarded, and more. Download Virtru today and start sharing with confidence. Because everyone deserves digital privacy and security without hassle.
Remember, our podcasts and archives are always available 24 hours a day at tedhart.com. Click on radio links. If you're listening live today, the phone lines are open. Call in and ask a question by dialing 347-324-3080. Now, back to the Nonprofit Coach with Ted Hart.
And we're back here live with Eric Riordan, who is a Vice President of Business Development at Care2 here on the Nonprofit Coach. So, Eric, before we took that break, we were talking about the essence of why Care2 is a social network for good, how it has become the world's largest. But how does this tool work? I see on your platform there are 2,750 nonprofit partners who are actively using the Care2 network. What does that mean?
So we work with nonprofits to help them do two things: to help them win their campaigns, or at least support their campaigns, and also to recruit supporters for the organization and these individuals who might go on to become donors, volunteers, etc. So I started out as a customer of Care2's. I was one of the first 100 or so customers when I used to run environmental campaigns, and I reached out to Care2. We had a piece of legislation, federal legislation, we were trying to pass, and we needed some help to get emails to Congress to support our campaign. When we're partnering with a nonprofit, if they're targeting Congress, we can set it up so that every time somebody signs that petition, it sends an email to that individual's member of Congress and or senators. And if we're targeting another entity, whether it's a federal agency or a corporation, we can similarly trigger emails each time somebody signs, so that the petition isn't happening in just over on our website. We're telling policymakers and corporations and others, these people are very concerned about this topic, and you should be aware of that, and hopefully support, if it's in the case of legislation, support passage of this legislation. Care2 is a big part of our win. It was one of the few environmental laws that was strengthened under the Bush presidency, and Care2 helped by helping us generate tens of thousands of emails to the Hill.
That's
in the process.
I was just going to say that. I mean, that's very, very impressive, and I'm not sure that everyone necessarily knows that about Care2 in terms of, there's a difference between signing a petition that might get delivered at some point to sort of that immediate connecting with a legislator who is your representative. So if you don't mind just my jumping in, just what's the difference and why is that more powerful?
Well, because we have to rely on, if we weren't sending emails from constituents saying, hi, I vote in your district and I care about this issue, and instead the petition wasn't living entirely on Care2, that policymaker might never find out that their constituents care about this issue. So that's a way of not only getting people to express how they feel about an issue, but also make the people they're trying to influence aware of what they've done. And there are other options. So we don't see petitions in a vacuum. We see them, and as a former campaigner, I see them as a critical tactic that fits into a whole suite of tactics for campaigning. And so what I would often do is with these petitions, we would have each signature, each signer, we would format it as an individual letter, so that we could go on to Capitol Hill and hand deliver to some members of Congress. We might deliver 200 letters that were generated to this petition, and we would say to them, these are people in your district. They signed this petition on Care2. Here's the body of the letter that the petition is based on, and here's the name and address of your constituent who wants you to support this legislation. So getting it from our platform into the hands of policymakers is really powerful and really important to get their attention. Similarly, they're great for press. If you want to get the attention of MPs or senators or corporations, and you get 300,000 signatures on a petition, and then you hold a press conference, and you invite the press to come and see you delivering these hundreds of thousands of petition signatures to the intended target, The press love it because it's a good story, and it's a very sort of, these people care, they took action, they've put this target on notice. It's a great story, and and very often policymakers have actually said to us, or to me in my campaigning path, if you can show me support, that will give me backing to support what you want. If you can't show that someone from my district cares, then it's hard for me to justify getting involved. There's so many other things to be involved in.
Well, and there's so many competing interests,
right?
I mean, there's so many competing interests and different sides to the story. Any legislator is trying to judge, well, where is the balance of the public? And this is a way, again, for, the citizen democracy to have a voice, whereas I think the average person feels like, well, I don't really have a voice. This is one way you have a voice, right?
Exactly, and it's one way of cutting through all that noise, because as you said, there are so many interests, so many things that people want policymakers to pay attention to, and there's a finite amount of attention to be shared. So this is one way of sort of cutting through that noise. Mm-hmm. The other part of this, in terms of how we support nonprofits, is when somebody signs a petition for one of our nonprofit partners, we will ask them to sign up for that organization's email list. Mm-hmm. And if they agree to that, then the organization has the permission to contact that person via email. We provide their name and their postal address as well, in a very transparent way, where we say, are you happy to be contacted by this organization? So a lot of organizations will come to us and say, here's the campaign that we're working on, and this is our goal on the advocacy front. But also, we would like to recruit 10,000 people that we can add to our supporter base, or maybe 100,000, or maybe more. And that's so then the charities will then build a relationship with those Care2 supporters that they've recruited, mm-hmm. ask them to volunteer, participate in their peer-to-peer events, donate online, donate in the mail or over the phone, become regular givers. However the charity operates. So this is a source of people that are very warm prospects, in addition to being passionate about their cause. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of the value to the nonprofits. We're not only, if they do campaigns, we're supporting the campaign. We're also helping build their capacity. And we also work with organizations that don't do campaigns. Sometimes instead of a pledge, we'll have instead of a petition, we'll have a pledge, where we'll ask somebody to sign a pledge to prevent plastic pollution by giving up straws, plastic straws, something like that. So there are other ways of people engaging using a similar process, not quite within that citizen democracy sort of construct, but more within sort of a public education, public involvement, behavioral change sort of process, which can also be very effective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's sort of different levels of engagement that the folks who are on the Care2 platform. So you've got right now 45 million active users, and so they can just sign a petition if they want to sign a petition for those causes that they want to go. Sort of the next step, they can also make a contribution and become directly involved with the charity that is sponsoring or posting that petition. There's also something called rewards. What are the butterfly rewards? Why butterfly rewards? And what do they do?
Oh, they're fun. So think of them as frequent flyer miles for Care2. Our members can earn butterfly rewards by watching certain videos, by commenting on blog posts, and engaging on Care2 in a variety of ways. If they do various things on Care2, they earn and the butterfly rewards, and then they can redeem those for sort of charitable efforts. So, for instance, I was until recently was on the board of Humane Farm Animal Care, and they're one of the butterfly rewards. They're part of the program. So if somebody redeems, I believe it's 200 butterfly points, that is enough to help help a farm animal live a more humane life. Mm-hmm. And what Humane Farm Animal Care does is they certify farmers as, you know, and producers as doing what they do in as humane a way as possible. And so the person on Care2 earns the points, then they redeem the points, and that redemption results in an aggregation in a donation to a charity partner. And we have, I think, about 20 charity partners right now.
That's great. Well, there's I can see here nearly 1.5 million butterfly credits that have offset carbon, pounds of carbon offset. You've also got 1 million days of safe water given. As you were mentioning, 583,000 points helped a farm animal. So this is just an incredible way for people, again, who want to do good. You can sign petition, you can earn credits, you can offset, or, you know, you've got 630. And this is incredible, Eric. 639,000 trees have been planted because of the community at Care2. So again, this is a caring community who wants to make a difference. Do you have any sense of all of the petitions and all of your members who have then gone on to make a contribution to charities? How many dollars have been raised for the various causes that are supported?
I don't have that number at my fingertips, but I know it's tens of millions of dollars.
That's incredible. So in addition to, you know, trees planted and animals saved and water cleaned, there are millions, tens of millions of dollars have been raised on this platform. Again, back to our topic of lessons from the world's largest social network for good. So Eric, let's, if you don't mind, turn our attention to what really works. Okay, so we've got our listeners today. They want to learn lessons from Care2, from the world's largest social network. You've been at this longer than Google has been alive. So what have you learned over time that works? And what worked back then, does it still work now? Has the community changed over time?
Yeah, those are great questions. I think so there's sort of two levels of it. One is behavioral and one is technological. And on the behavioral front, what works is authenticity and communication. So the reason our members keep coming back to Care2 is we try really hard to tell them about petitions that are legitimate, that have a real opportunity to be successful. You know, not every petition that's been created on Care2 has been that. I mean, there have been some Justin Bieber petitions, et cetera, but the petitions that we're promoting to our members and the petitions that we're working with our partners on, we try and make them as authentic as possible. And then this whole feedback loop, as you were mentioning on the homepage, we have success stories. And it is so that proof is so critical to the entire effort. If people see that you can actually help use a petition to help win a campaign, they're more likely to believe in it. And because we believe that they should be believed in, that's critical. So making sure that people see the impact that you're making sure that we're communicating with our supporters in an authentic way, those are hugely critical. The things that have shifted over time, there have been quite a few, and one of the things that we're really focusing on right now, and there are actually three themes in our Digital Outlook report that you saw that we just put out with HJC and the Resource Alliance and N10. We're seeing a real shift right now around. There's a big shift on to mobile across the board. So, and I'm not talking SMS. I'm talking people surfing the web or hanging out on Facebook or signing the petitions on their iPad or on their smartphone, and this shift to mobile has been dramatic. Something like 80% of the time spent on Facebook is now being spent using a mobile device instead of a desktop. Mm-hmm. So why should charities care about this? lots of charities have not gotten fully optimized for mobile. Their websites, if somebody goes there to their website on a smartphone, it's not necessarily an easy experience if you're trying to make a donation, and there's sort of a lag there, and so we think it's really critical, because we're not going to stop people from moving to mobile devices. People are starting to give up even laptops and go exclusive. Business people, some of them are starting to go exclusively to tablets. Mm-hmm. So that is going to happen, and so it's really critical for nonprofits to make sure that it's really easy for people to donate via using their mobile device. And there are tools out there that are evolving. Having a responsive website is key. That's a really big deal, and we've been through this in part because we had to make sure that all of our emails and our petition templates and everything were mobile responsive as well. And we've been investing in that with great intention for about 5 years, continuing to optimize that. So that's a really big deal. And another thing that's really interesting is where, obviously until 2005 or so, there weren't social networks except Care2, MySpace, and Friendster. We all predated Facebook. Facebook comes along, and everybody wants to be in the same place. That's great. What has happened is, as social networks have grown and people are spending more and more time on social networks, that's where they tend to share things and tend to engage with things versus with email. On the other hand, email is the only thing that you can push, or the most universally used thing that you can push into somebody's their desk or desktop or their mobile device. So what we've really been seeing is a powerful force of integrating social and email communication as part of a multi-channel strategy that in our ideal world also includes direct mail, telephone fundraising, in addition to email and social. And we think that social is a really good way to cultivate supporters, so that when you do send through an appeal, regardless of channel, they're going to be more likely to respond because you're more top of mind. So that's a really big trend as well.
And part of it, just to let our listeners know, we have posted the link to the 2018 Digital Outlook report over at facebook.com/Ted Hart. This is an extensive report that provides a lot of information regarding the use of technology. But you were just mentioning this mobile optimization. Are you saying for our listeners today that's where you also place the biggest concern for most nonprofits in terms of their capacity to compete, their capacity, because we've been at this. You folks predate Google, as you are aware. I was a founder of the ePhilanthropy Foundation in 2000. So we're now 18 years later in terms of nonprofits engaging and really starting to understand that you need to have a website, you need to be able to communicate electronically, you need to you need to be very active with mobile. But in your report, you're identifying that a lot of charities are concerned about this because they lack internal capacity, they lack budget, they lack resources. This is no longer sort of a nice to have, maybe we'll get to it next year sort of thing, is it?
Absolutely not. And it's not let's be cutting edge and crazy and get mobile. This is where people are. The rates of donor acquisition are declining. So if people are going to be able to continue to get new donors, and part of that is going to be through a digital channel, then they need to make sure that it's really, really easy for people to make donations to their charity using a mobile device. Mm-hmm. If it's hard to make a donation to charity A and somebody abandons, either they're not going to give or they're going to go to charity B. And if it's easy on charity B gets the gift.
That's right.
So it's critical. People are spending so much more time on their mobile devices, and you can't count on them to get an email from you, see it on their smartphone, and then wait till they get home and remember to go and check their email online, and then click through and make a gift. It just can't.
It's that
can't
immediate response that
gotta catch up.
Exactly. So okay. I'm a listener. I listened to the show today. I know I've got it. I understand. I need to do this. But then I start working with a provider who is just all over the place and throwing lots of things at me and asking for lots of money, which of course we don't have. What's my best bang for the buck in terms of getting started? Is it that mobile responsive website, the mobile site? Is that where I should be putting my emphasis? Is it text to give? Do I have to have my own app? Will anybody download my app? So where's sort of I know I should have done this yesterday, but I didn't. So where do I go first?
First, I would focus on making your website mobile responsive.
Okay.
I would do that first. I wouldn't create an app, and if you don't already have a SMS text program, then it's kind of tough to start from scratch. And we know that websites are going to be around a long time. SMS is a little less certain. I never predict the demise of any channel or tool because. Right. I've been predicting a lot of demise for a long time, and I'm not interested in that. But so a mobile responsive website is actually probably going to also perform better on desktop as well. We actually started once we developed our email templates to really look good in mobile. We used them exclusively and got rid of the old templates that might have had more room and more space and be fine on a desktop. We just went to mobile. So I would really start there.
So yeah, you're saying 70% in your survey have a responsive design in place. Only 19% have a mobile app. If I'm getting pressured on the mobile app side, what's my response to that? That's not required, that's not necessary, or is that a next step? What is the next step beyond, okay, I've got the responsive mobile site? Is it content at that point, or is it more technology?
I can think of reasons for an organization to have an app, but I can't think of a reason for any and every organization to have an app. So it would have to be driven by a strategy. Do you have something people can engage in every day that they will enjoy doing, that will actually motivate them to download? So there might be some cool apps that are games that sort of gamifying how you recycle or track your recycling or track your steps or things like that. I can see reasons, but I certainly wouldn't do it because it can be done. I would do it because it really fulfills a strategic need for the organization. Yeah. The next thing I would actually focus on is email deliverability.
Okay.
Email deliverability is huge, and it's really gotten much more complex. The Gmail, Yahoo, Microsoft's various mail products, they have gotten more and more stringent and more sensitive around big email lists, and having good email deliverability is really critical. And there's some easy steps that can be taken to improve that. One is to make sure you're tracking it first and monitoring your deliverability. But part of it is if people have stopped opening an email and you continue to email them for years, at some point there's a risk that email address, because Yahoo or Gmail, these email addresses can be recouped by the email provider, and they can turn them into spam traps.
Yeah.
And it might be that you're now emailing a spam trap that they are then tracking, and they know that you're not maintaining good list hygiene. So we're very aggressive. If somebody is inactive for more than 6 months, we stop mailing them. We also use a third-party partner to validate and verify our new email addresses real time when somebody is added joins the Care2 community. We make sure that the email address is valid and that it's not toxic, it's not a spam trap, etc. And that it's a real email address. So we have our internal processes to track that, and we also have this third-party partner who helps get rid of bad emails as well. It's a really big deal, and if an organization that raises $20 million a year online gets shut down around the holidays in the fourth quarter, and they can't send email, that could cost them millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
And for smaller organizations, if they're losing $100,000, that might be a tremendously big deal for a small organization. So that's a super big deal. We did, our CTO and our CEO last fall wrote an ebook on email deliverability that has some really good advice in there. And we send a huge amount of email. We're a very, very large organization. We have newsletters around different content, and we just send a lot of emails. So we have to make sure that we have the best email reputation possible to these companies like Gmail and so forth. And we invest a lot in that, and we've learned a lot of lessons. And so we basically put all those lessons into that ebook. And I think it's super useful and well worth some time, because if you can't get into somebody's inbox, then there's no link for them to click on to go to your mobilely responsive website to make a donation.
And you're referring to the new rules for email deliverability, which we will post over Facebook as well. So in the time that we have remaining, we've got about 8 minutes. I just want to sort of finish this list that you've started. So number one is design mobile responsive website. Number two is email deliverability strategy and tracking, and we're going to post the link to the ebook. Number three is maintain good list hygiene. What's step number four? What do you do after you've completed those three things?
And this might actually be step one. It's a feedback. It's a sort of a virtuous loop here, but being able to see how people are coming to your donation pages, having good analytics in place is huge. So that way you can tell how many people are clicking through because they found you through search and you did a good job on either search engine optimization or search engine marketing, and they clicked through and made a gift. You want to know, and you want to know if they're coming through Google or Bing or some other search engine. But also you want to know, there's an element of, are they coming to the site and bouncing? And there's a way of telling, all right, if everybody that comes via a mobile device comes to your donation page and doesn't complete a gift, then there's an issue that you.
So is that
if they're coming?
Is that mostly so? Review analytics, understand how people find you. Is that mostly Google Analytics? Is the answer there?
I think that's a lot of it. It's free, although there's paid options, and it's pretty universal, and that seems to be really the biggest tool out there. There are other tools that somebody might invest in if they're raising hundreds of thousands or more online, and they hopefully already have some good analytics in place anyway. But if not, start with Google Analytics for sure. Okay,
so let me go.
And related to that.
Yeah, well, let me. I reordered this. So number one is review analytics, understand how people find you, Google Analytics. Number two is design mobile responsive website. Number three is email deliverability strategy and tracking. Number four is maintain good list hygiene, stop emailing after 6 months of no interaction. And number five, let's round this out to five. What do you do after you've done all of that? What's sort of the next, thing that our listeners should be doing?
So related to all of these, another big thing that we focus on and that we know is a really big challenge out there with our partners is around attribution. And Ted, from being in the biz for a while, it was hard enough to manage attribution between, just your website and direct mail and telephone and trying to integrate those. But now you also have people coming through, through different social sites like Facebook, et cetera, and figuring out your ad as well as your analytics tells you where to invest in the best way to grow your capacity. If you're getting a ton of people in through search, nobody ever comes through social and actually makes a gift, and you haven't maxed out search, I would keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
But if you're able to track, all right, we recruited this person via Care2, they signed up for our email list, then we engaged them through not only emails and direct mail and phones, but also through Facebook ads, and they happen to click through on a Facebook ad and make a gift, you need to know both pieces. You need to know that they came through Facebook to make the gift, but you also need to know where the relationship started. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know that, you might just keep buying Facebook ads, but not targeting the people that are most likely to give. And it may be that they clicked on a Facebook ad because they had also just brought in the mail and there was a direct mail appeal. So really getting the attribution.
So would you say number 5 would be
down.
attribution, know where the relationship starts, build on what is working, and part of what you're saying there is you're doing stuff, but do you even know what's working? Do you know the donors that you already have, the folks that you're communicating with? Do you know enough about your own folks, let alone going out and finding lots of folks who don't know you?
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better.
Okay, terrific. Well, we're posting those 5 excellent tips that Eric has given us over on Facebook today. Eric, we've got just 3 minutes left, so please, we've covered so much today, and we definitely have gotten lessons from the world's largest social network for good. Would you please just wrap us up and make sure that our listeners know how they can reach you?
Oh, sure. Ted, it was a pleasure to be on, and I've been with Care2 for 11 and a half years, and before that was a customer for almost the length of time Care2's been around. So I'm a huge fan. If organizations are they're looking for a place to create a petition where they can find supporters, and then that's their goal, Care2's a great place to go. If they're looking for a way to recruit multi-channel donor leads online, Care2 can absolutely help them. If they're looking for good advice on how to really optimize their online program and integrate it with their other channels of fundraising, we've got an incredible team here that's what they do, and it's built into our service. And we have people with decades of fundraising and advocacy experience. It's a really exciting place to be. If people want to know more about how they can partner with Care2, they can email me at ericr@care2team.com. That's ERICR at care2, the number 2, TEAM.com. And I'd love to hear from folks, answer any questions, and of course, let them know what we might be able to do to support their efforts.
Eric, you have been extremely helpful today, very precise in your strategy, and I know that our listeners are going to be much smarter as they put their strategy together because of the lessons that they've learned from us today. So, Eric, thank you for being my guest here on The Nonprofit Coach.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ted.
You've been listening to the Nonprofit Coach Radio Show with Ted Hart. Tell all your friends to check out our production schedule and download our iPod and iPad-friendly podcast at tedhart.com. Thanks